where are we? We are in the middle of Switzerland, and we are at Blumer-Lehmann's, which is a wood factory. It's a sawmill, and they're also producing some of the most fantastic wood constructions that they're sending out in the world.
Okay.
To Japan, everywhere.
Okay.
But the most fantastic thing is that it started like a small sawmill, and it's the 5th generation, and we have to meet the 5th generation CEO, Katharina.
Katharina is a woman.
She's there.
It's a woman
She's standing
CEO.
in the wood.
This is great, Katharina.
A
Nice.
woman CEO.
Good to see you.
That's a
Good to
good,
see you
strong
again.
hand,
See you again.
handshake. I was expecting a man, sorry, but because the whole building industry is filled with men all over, and we met what you call the Bababusa,
Yeah.
and now we're meeting Katharina.
Another power woman.
Yeah, that's great. So, Katharina, Anders told me that this is, Blumer-Lehmann is one of the businesses that constructs some of the most beautiful tree construction in the world, right?
Yeah, we do, but that's because of the material.
You wanted to tell me a story, right?
I wanted to tell you a story that very rare. We as architects or builders in the build industry, we know about how putting wood together and so on, but rarely we quite see and understand how a tree becomes a material we can build with, and the sensitive approach to where you harvest the wood and how you treat it. And that's why I think this place is so interesting, because, and you're going to tell us a lot more about that, but the wood comes from Switzerland. It's also something that you deal with here, but maybe you can just take us around and show us how you cut it up and how you treat it.
I will.
Tell us a story, Katharina.
And don't forget, while we are walking, that 40% of the log is rest material.
Yeah.
40%.
40% also used in very interesting products. You can use it for panels, you can use it for energy, you can use it for pellets. So it's not, it's...
You can also use it for...
Exactly. So this is rest material also being used.
It's the most beautiful waste. If all waste would look like this, it would be so nice.
And the task is to use it for long life circle products and not for energy right at the beginning.
But how did it all start? That's what I want to know. How do you suddenly have a wood factory making all this?
It's a bit of pity because we have to walk through, but it all started with a wooden wheel generating electricity.
In there?
Yeah, 149 years ago down there.
Okay, what is that? That doesn't look like a wood factory.
No, this was my home.
What?
Yeah, I've been growing up here.
You grew up in there?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there was a wood factory beside your home?
Yes, exactly. And of course it was very idyllic.
When you were small, there wasn't all the buildings around here. It was only your house and then this sawmill.
Yeah, and this was a farmhouse. You can hardly see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was the view out of my window, and you can still see 1875 up there.
Oh.
So
That's old building.
It was built in 46,
Yeah.
but my ancestors decided to put the number on.
Yeah.
And we are becoming 150 years next year, but we still don't know why.
You still don't know why.
And so you are the 5th generation of... That's a really, it's like just a rough calculation. It must be back in 1600, like monks running around.
Yeah, 1875 there was no electricity, there was only farming.
Yeah.
When we talk about the wood coming in, because for us, when we look up there, it's almost like the full supply chain. You see the trees, you see the trunks, and then you start working with them. But you told me a little bit about the trees here in Switzerland, which is like where your wood comes from, right?
Yeah.
And what is, isn't that a little bit unique that the wood that you work with is local? Because when we work with other wood manufacturers, they harvest, from all over the world, and they bring it in, they do their product, and they send it away again.
A sawmill normally sources their logs out of a certain region, out of transport distances, and every sawmill does that. It depends how big you are. So our amount is 170 170,000 cubes a year, and we can source it around 80 kilometers around the factory.
80 kilometers?
Yes. And transport distances are very crucial for a sawmill. And that's why we know where the material comes from, and you optimize distances and transportation costs as well.
But then that also puts a pressure on you to make, for this to be sustainable, you need constantly having a conversation about planting new trees and having the forest regrow and supplying you.
Actually, in Switzerland, it's the other way around. So 10 million cubes are growing every year, and only 5 are taken out.
Oh, so you're constantly adding more.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we've got a problem that our forest gets older and older. So you also have to maintain the forest, and that means sustainability would mean that you take the same amount out of the forest that's growing.
Okay.
Because the resilience of the forest is better if you maintain and use it.
But I think it's a very important discussion that we want to build with wood because we want to avoid steel and concrete, right? But we also want to make sure that we don't take trees around from biodiversity, and there's two ways of making forest, right?
Exactly, and that's no contradiction. I would say the other way around. Not using the resource we have in our forest sustainably is not a concept for the future. So the only concept for the future is using all the wood we have in the forest as sustainably as possible, but not using it and just protecting the forest is a concept which doesn't fit to our world.
Wow. Okay. I'm not sure I'm totally agreeing on that, but there is, as long as you only take amount of wood out that is...
That's sustainably. And imagine just having the concept of leaving all the wood
trees
in the forest. That means that they start to not, they have a decreasing amount of carbon they're taking.
Yeah, but they support tons of biodiversity. A tree that's dying is supporting tons of biodiversity.
Of course.
But that's philosophy. I agree on that philosophy, but that you can say also expands that you need to have a lot of forest, so you harvest this in a sustainable way. That's trees that already needs to fall or bring light in to kind of have a natural have biodiversity still. But some will disagree and say that the tree has to fall and deteriorate and have like a lot of insects and all that stuff around.
That's
right?
me.
That's me saying that. That's your side, right?
It's like having a serious discussions about we have a resource in our forests, we want to keep the biodiversity, we want to keep our forests multifunctional, but don't forget to use it because that's crucial.
No. But I don't think we disagree on that. But we will actually make a program at some point where we discuss how, because this is about us, your family sawing this. But we will make a forest program where we go through how a production forest can thrive together with the wild forest, and also forest is many things, right? A forest is not only a dense forest. There's forest savannas and all that.
Exactly. And there are areas where you really have to preserve them.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so we have untouched forest.
Yeah.
Then we have, on the other end, we have a production forest where it's like growing, cutting, growing, cutting. And then we have something in between, where it's a large forest area where you go in and you take these trees out in a sensitive way, protecting the forest and still saying that biodiversity is kept.
The problem is right now we have way too little of the wild forest, the protected forest. Then we have way too much production forest, and we don't actually have that much. Maybe you have that in Switzerland, but in Denmark we don't have that. We have very little.
Everything's production forest.
Everything's production forest. Yeah. So I think, if we do this whole program and are not mentioning that we need a sustainable way of having forest, then people will go fucking ape shit in the comments, right?
Yes, and we have to remember now we are talking about biodiversity. When we talk about these materials, no matter which one of the three we're talking about, it's instead of concrete and steel.
Yeah.
And so it's also like, what are the alternatives to this on a CO2 discussion? How do we save as much CO2 now as possible? Like
exactly.
now.
We have 3 rules. don't build, renovate, and when you build, then build new with sustainable materials like earth and timber, right?
And recycle.
And recycle, upcycle. Yeah, that's the rule on this channel. So you produce a lot of wood, but when does it move from just making wood, like construction wood, like this, right? Was there one project that kind of got the ball rolling, or was it small projects?
Yeah. So already my father used to build in wood, but farming and traditional houses, and then it was just the market who made up the possibilities. In 2000, we only had clients which were absolutely eco-friendly. Nobody could imagine living in a wooden house at this stage. So it was like we were very, very proud that we could do roofs at this stage. And
when was this?
About at the end of the 90s.
End of the 90s?
Yeah, and then the regulation was more liberal. Products were invented which we needed to do bigger constructions, and prefabrication came, so private clients could imagine to live in a wooden house.
But was it because every time we go skiing, we love that, even though we're really bad at it in Denmark?
I don't love it.
You're pretty good.
No, I'm really bad at skiing. I really hate
you
skiing.
Don't hate it. And you hate it, of course.
I really hate skiing.
But for some of us that loves it,
but I like the log.
You see all these huts or cabins in wood and log in both Sweden, Norway, and here in Switzerland, Austria, and so on. But they've always been wood. So I mean, when we go through, we see it looks like this old like camp. But no.
But it's the same in Sweden. So the tradition is there. But during the 1900 years, concrete was in every mind.
Yeah.
So everybody thought concrete is the solution for everything.
Anders told me that somehow, at some point, you get these assignments from Japanese clients, and you start making structures. Is that correct?
Yeah, but you mentioned the free forms. That was about 2008. When a golf house in Korea should have been built.
And who was that, Katharina?
That was Shigeru Ban.
Shigeru Ban, like the most sustainable architect in the world. I know you call me that, but he's the most sustainable.
Shigeru Ban?
Shigeru Ban.
What?
Shigeru Ban.
Shigeru Ban.
I probably say it wrong.
Shigeru Ban. What do you say?
Shigeru Ban.
Shigeru Ban.
That's probably more right.
Try and say Shigeru Ban.
Shigeru Ban.
Shigeru Ban.
You say it more sensitive. That's probably because you met him, because he's like really a
I
sensitive
like him
guy,
very
right?
much. Yeah.
And so that becomes a. Is that the project that kind of gets the ball rolling of all? Because now it doesn't look like a sawmill anymore, right?
It does, yeah. But we just walked through the sawmill, and now you see the whole
It's
site.
just a little bit bigger now.
Yeah. You think so?
A little bit bigger. Katharina, we have to show the project. Which project is it from Shigeru Ban that's kind of changing things for you?
It was the first one actually, and that was the golf clubhouse in Yeoju, Korea. And
do you know that one?
It's a very nice project.
and you know
it's pretty good.
I mean, it's always like an architect comes with a scheme, and you've got no idea how to build it. And then you start thinking about it, and you think, with the accurate tools we have, that should be possible. But it's still a huge risk.
And then instead of saying no, you say yes.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference.
Yeah, but can I ask something?
Because how do they find you here?
Why the hell do a Japanese architect building a golf house in South Korea
with a Swiss wood
why
manufacturer?
Why is he contacting you? Why doesn't he contact like a,
I'll call you and say, can you do it?
Katharina just said that Enigo sawmill is have
80
kilometer sourcing, right?
Yeah.
I would say, and I'm not so smart at calculating, but there's more than 80 kilometers to Japan.
From Osaka
right?
to here.
Why is he contacting you guys?
Because he needed to find out how to do it, and of course it's also machine technology.
So he took the phone book and then it just started calling, and everyone was saying no, so the radius got bigger and bigger, and at a certain point he hits Katharina.
No, but the thing is, you guys here at Blumer-Lehmann, you must have been able to do something that the other guys have not been able to do. That's what I'm trying to.
Yeah.
And what was that?
That's the project engineering, like the interface in between the architectural idea and the buildable solution, and that's a creative task, because it's a translation of what the architect wants and pushing the boundary with technology.
And here the interesting part is that here the architect comes with a shape and a wish, and he doesn't really know if you can do it. He doesn't know your machines. He doesn't know what the wood actually can do. He has a form and a dream.
Yeah.
And then you have to apply or find out ways of doing it to apply to the form.
Yeah.
So here the form follows the production.
Forms follow availability.
So, and what is happening now, where you guys are actually having the engineering part and are coming closer and closer to the architects and engineers yourself.
Yeah.
You know what you can do. So the leap between wish of a form and what you can actually do is getting more and more narrow, which is really, really, really interesting.
And our role is not only engineering, but also cost effectiveness. So it's also a translation of what we can optimize. It's like finding out as a team together how an idea is going to be buildable.
I think that we're onto something here. Is that for you to move into a future where you become more and more relevant in terms of sustainable building? This golf building, is it because you dare to take chances in your company and others didn't, and that's why you suddenly now 20 years after is one of the leading companies in this?
No, honestly, I would say the reason why we did Korea was because we have a sawmill. Because we felt and we knew that translating this idea into reality would mean that you see completely different insides of wooden buildings, because it's like another aspect.
Yeah.
That's why we were interested.
Yeah, I think here we're onto something interesting, which is because when we talk about sustainable materials with others, they're so young. It's a new product, or it's a startup and so on. And in this case, we have 5 generations of wood that, it's the oldest product in reality that we've been building with. And here we are seeing an evolution rather than kind of a jump start and taking a chance. So for you might be more natural. It's just a natural evolution of where you were last year or decades ago.
Or another aspect.
Another aspect of wood.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And did you notice the river we were going through? Yeah. There was a guy telling me that the river used to go through this factory, powering into this, empowering the whole thing we just saw.
And three years ago, he used to run here.
And then you moved it over there. And then the climate activist and the biodiversity activist and me
went nuts.
I went nuts when I heard that, but then I went to see the river, and they did the swings. They didn't just.
Did you measure the corners?
No, I didn't. But
it's beautiful, and the place where it used to be is much. It's terrible, and what we have now is a real tree.
So what you're saying is Mother Earth did a terrible job over here, but you did a better. This Mother Earth did a better job over here.
Go and
let's go.
Yeah,
I have seen it. I love it.
Yeah, be aware.
But these are beautiful. This is reminding me of all my
5 generations ago. They weren't that high.
But this is what I think. This is what most of us recognize as Glulam. What's it called?
It's Glulam.
Glulam, right?
It's Glulam.
So this technique is the thing you revolutionized, right?
When is the first Glulam being made? Do you think? Do you know that?
I think it was about 1960.
In the 60s.
Yeah, and the guy who did it was called Hitzer.
Hitzer.
And it was somewhere in between Germany and Switzerland, when they started gluing. And of course, at the beginning, it was difficult because you had to guarantee a long-lasting product, and the glues were not so sophisticated.
Anders, I don't know if you noticed the time machine.
Yeah,
we also have a time machine here. It's like,
So this is how you do it. So you go into the wood time machine, you go forward in time and see what we need, and you go back and then you invent it.
and then they have some of the biggest hamsters in the world.
Yeah, they
hamsters
run
running
up
around.
and down. Yeah, exactly.
But Katharina, how did you grow up, become CEO and director of a company like this? Was this your dream all the time?
Definitely not. So,
Well, that's it.
as you heard, I've grown up here,
Yeah.
and we were 3 brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And I was studying, and when I was 24, my father had a brain attack.
A what?
A brain attack.
Okay, he has a brain hemorrhage or something like that?
Exactly.
Okay. I'm
and
sorry.
I was the only one who could take, or at least tell the employees that it could go further on, but I would never have imagined to be the boss.
Okay.
But that's now 27 years ago, so I'm still here.
You're so cool.
You're an she's an accidental CEO. That's great.
You're temporary, and you've been that for 20 years. Or
Yeah. So
how
I
many
started.
years?
I started when I was 24, having no clue.
24.
You were at 24.
I had no clue. I always said,
What?
I've got 4 handicaps. I'm woman. I'm the daughter, and I studied, which is also not very good, and I don't know anything.
Tell me what you did at 24, and I'm pretty fucking sure you didn't run a sawmill
I was
with a lot of
running,
employees.
trying to find my bathing suit on a beach somewhere, and not thinking too
You
far.
were running around getting beep. Yeah, let's go.
I was studying really hard and drawing and doing all the things I had to do, helping, around, doing good things for the environment, for the world. At 24, I think, something like that. Anders, on the other hand, you can only imagine what he was doing. Yeah. On a serious note here, if you should give a good advice for women, also for men, but mostly for women, like when you've been in these situations when it was difficult, like what should they do if someone gets a call? I mean, can you be the CEO of this and they're 24 years? All other difficult choices you've been through in a man-dominated world. What would be a good advice?
Talking to people, and of course, not saying I can't do it. Saying I'm able to do it, and I'm organizing assistance in certain stages of all needs which are there. So, and there is no reason to think not to do it.
You are a young female taking over your daddy's company in temporaries. You must have some sort of opposition from, I guess, was a mainly male dominated workplace, right?
In a situation like I was, my father was suddenly sick and he couldn't do his job anymore. And that's the crisis.
Yeah.
Just the fact that there is someone is helping over this crisis. So at the sudden situation, it was a huge acceptance just because they were glad that somebody out of the family took the responsibility to community.
But you developed it to a level that it's never been before.
Yeah, but that's also how the timber construction industry developed. So it's
it's been both things, but I mean, you could also have lost it. I mean, because
and we influenced it a lot, but during this period, it was also the opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
And
but you did it intelligent.
Katharina, you became the boss. You grew this company into a mastodon. So I'm taking Anders' words, right? He says you're one of the most innovative. We're going to see your office building, which is supposedly a masterpiece. And you didn't use an architect, which I really like.
Is really crazy. I think that's the only mistake about that house is that you didn't use an architect.
We didn't know how to choose. You know, that was
you didn't want to step on anyone's toes, so you did it yourself.
We couldn't make up a choice. And that's our new storage. Have a look.
Oh shit. This is the matrix of wood. It's like being inside a movie of a hidden laboratory or a hidden...
God.
Jesus
And
Christ.
you can drive around.
Is that
this-
Keanu Reeves down there?
Yeah, that's Keanu Reeves. Hey, Keanu! We're discussing a lot of things on this channel about sustainability and what is the future. And we established this that no building is best. Renovating is the second one. And then the third one is reuse and then adding sustainable building material like hempcrete, wood, earth, and all this. But do you see a movement within the industry that this is what, you know, maybe it's on the uptick, but do you see this is the future? Or is it, do you see that it can go backwards again?
No, this is definitely the future. And the concept of reuse or renovate is also an economic concept we have to solve, because often it's more expensive to renovate or to use the same material again than to use new material. And that's a task we really have to think of how to do that.
But do you see a future where the reuse and the recycling of products is getting into the same industrialization?
Yeah, but that takes time. Just because logistics is very difficult, labor costs are still very high. So the industrialization of those processes needs to be done.
Yeah.
It's not done within the next 20 years, but more and more taking up.
Yeah.
But I think what we see here is many interesting things, but one thing for sure is that there is a historical way of building. We've been building with wood for so long, and somehow it now has made a jump into the present and into the future, where like how can we build upscale and also the structures that we have today, because there's a hole where we've been building in steel and concrete and not looking at how much energy we were using. We didn't care. It was there in fossil fuel, so we could just produce. But all of a sudden that's out. But the needs of the cities and the functionalities are still there. And now the old materials has to adapt to that. And that's what we've seen here with you, that you're starting to, on an industrial level, adapt an old material to a new and modern way of creating buildings and cities and building systems and innovating all the time.
And it's also a beautiful task, you know, to work with these two words, tradition and innovation or future material, and to discover wood in different aspects and in different areas is one of the most beautiful tasks I can have. But I also wish that more and more architects are playing on that field, that you know, it's like not only.
But then maybe you should invite them to do your office building at some point.
There are too many architects. Would you like to work in a group?
Absolutely.
We'll put that on a poster. There's too many architects.
There's too many architects.
Okay, so Katharina, thank you for showing us Blumer-Lehmann.
You're a
It's
superhero.
fantastic.
Thank you.
Absolutely amazing, and you're so generous taking us around the factory. And I'm so totally fan of seeing something that has a long grow-in and, you know, family tradition, and then going in to become this huge, you know, business that is showing the future of building material. Should we go into the and then I have one thing at the very end. So I don't even notice that I have the pen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stole it.
Yeah, you can have it. You can have it.
Yes.